sounds like you had a pretty amazing experience and learned a great deal about Palestinian society. What I can tell you is that you're right. There are a lot of different opinions at the ground level, and what you'll ultimately find is that most people would like all this to go away. They like the conflict to go away. They like their own internecine conflict, their own civil war to go away. I have one chapter in here where there were, people were putting on theatrical plays, and there were cell phone ringtones and songs that were being written about this conflict, and how embarrassing it was for the Palestinian people that they couldn't find leaders that they could get behind. There are some grassroots movements that have been created. They're a minority within the Palestinians, but there's one called Palestine Forum, which is created by a billionaire by the name of Munir al-Masri. There's Salam Fayyad's faction. There are a couple of others out there that are really trying to create a separate political reality, let's say, than what we're seeing. The problem is that you're only looking at 1 or 2% of the Palestinian electorate, if there is such a thing, supporting these groups. The hope is that over time, more and more Palestinians find themselves frustrated with the traditional ruling elite of Mahmoud Abbas and his crew, or any of the Hamas leaders, whether they're based in Gaza or in Syria. But ultimately, I think getting to the media issue, I think that the Palestinians are ashamed to allow this to come to the fore. They would much rather, and this actually stems from anyone that's ever watched the way that reporting is done in the Middle East. The Arab-Israeli conflict is covered this way. A correspondent is thrown into the mix. They live in Jerusalem. And what they'll do is they'll go to the Israeli officials in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, and they'll be able to interview them, they'll be able to walk around without a problem because they feel relatively safe and it's relatively easy to get around. And they'll ask people all the tough questions and have an easy time doing them. And then it's time for them to go into the West Bank. There it's a little bit harder, but they can do it. They probably need a translator and they need a fixer. They need somebody who can take them around and show them who they need to talk to and show them the people that they need to ask questions to. And then in the Gaza Strip, they not only need a fixer, but they also need a security detail because they're in the midst of a hostile Hamas area that it does not take kindly to Westerners. And what happens is, over time, is that people are steered in different directions. Our journalists are steered in, I think, the wrong directions. They're not covering the right stories. And they're not hearing what the average Palestinian has to say about the frustration they're feeling on the ground. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see right now, is that the average journalist is just not getting to the root of what Palestinians want. I'm glad you got a chance to go, and I hope only that more journalists ultimately get to that ground truth, as they call it. Yeah. I don't know how we doing on time. Are we?
Like 2 more questions?
Okay, 2 more questions. I'll be happy to stick around afterwards.
I just had a couple of little questions about basically the people in the White House and President Obama, President for 1 year now. In my opinion, just from watching him and speeches, it's been all over the place regarding Israel and the Jewish people. And I really don't know where he stands. That's how I feel. I also don't know how Rav Emanuel and Absalom and the Jewish stand. Now I know Obama, that's not to discredit him or say many things, but he was from the far left. There's no question about it. He was from the far left. It's not the first president to look at, but from the far left. And knowing how the far left feels about Israel, how much that influence affects Obama, and what about Rav Emanuel and Absalom? Are they pro-Israel or are they